Welcome to another edition of Trail Runner Nation. My name is Don Freeman.
I'm Andy Jones-Wilkins.
And I'm Scott War. And today we are cooking up. Catch the little wording there. We're cooking up something a little bit different at Trail Runner Nation, inspired by the big U.S. holiday here that we have called Thanksgiving. If you're not familiar with what that is, it's a holiday where we gather together as friends and give thanks for all of our blessings that we have in our life. We feast on food with great friends and family. And so we're going to celebrate that, but we're going to do it Trail Runner Nation style. Instead of food, we're going to serve up habits or ideas or rituals or tactics that help us become better runners in a food buffet, if you will. Now, Don is going to explain the rules to this game or this episode. Don, give it your best shot.
Yeah, well, let's first give credit where credit is due. And that's AJW, who said, hey, guys, let's do a Thanksgiving episode and maybe we have a feast. And so that's really what kicked it off. So we don't want to lose sight that this is really AJW's, his baby.
There he goes. He preemptively threw me under the bus. There you go. It was smart play, Don.
Thank you. Hey, and so what we thought we'd do is somehow tie trail running in with Thanksgiving. How is that done? And so AGW said, it's like having an entree. And that's really what made the whole thing start. Well, let's name our favorite entree from our own Thanksgiving table. And then
which is the main part of the meal, right? The entree is the main part.
Thank you, Scott. And maybe define main for us as well. So the main part is the entree. And then there are side dishes that just support that entree. And then, of course, there's always everybody's favorite, the dessert, packed with sweetness, great memories, and there you go with the dessert. So we thought we'd each share our favorite entree, our favorite side dish, and our favorite dessert, but tie it somehow into ultra running, because ultra running has entrees, it has side dishes, and it also has dessert. So we're going to go around the table and we're going to talk about that. So AGW, now here's the rest of the story. AGW is going to clean up what I just demolished there, no doubt. And then Scott will clean up what AGW misses out, and then we'll get this thing started.
No, Don, you did a fantastic job, and I do think that you've kind of nailed it. The idea here is that yes, we will talk about our favorite Thanksgiving entree, our favorite Thanksgiving side dish, and our favorite Thanksgiving dessert. But in the context of trail and ultra running, that entree for each of us, and we've had a little bit of time to think about this, is that thing that makes that our sport is rooted in, right? The main course of our sport. What is it that makes this special feast of a sport? Then our side dish is, what is it? What is that extra thing? What is that special thing on the side? Maybe it's a something that you do or a way in which you interact with the sport. That side dish that sort of perks up the entree, that adds to the entree, that makes the main course even better. And then, of course, the dessert. What is it about the sport that makes it so darn sweet that between the three of us, we've been participating in it for, over 60 years between the three of us?
And, AGW, I can't think that Scott could even improve anything that you or I have set the stage for this episode, but we'll give him a shot at going ahead and leaning in and see what he can do with it.
We may have to press the pause button, because I think that I may have misunderstood a little bit on the entree, the way you defined the entree, Andy.
You'll go third.
Okay. I think that's really a good explanation. I think it's going to make it fun. It's a good time to reflect. That's really what Thanksgiving's about, right? Is to reflect on the year and look and see what great things, what good things have happened. and how we can improve on the upcoming year. So I think this is a good, fun way that we can do that going forward. Now, the one thing that I also maybe I missed in our text conversation, were we supposed to come with 2 entrees, 2 sides, and 2 desserts, or one only?
One
okay,
only.
So this is a 30-minute episode then.
No. There's a little bit of rambling in between the actual. We can do that, Scott.
Well, I have 2 for each, and I'll just be able to pick out the star of the duo.
And it's okay if we all have the same entree, but what's happening next when we pick our trail running entree, that's what I'm interested in, because I'm sure we all love similar things. AGW?
Yeah, I agree. And I think, and Scott, it's good that you have 2 of each, because, Don and I might take your first 2, and then you'll have to come up with a third one anyway.
Okay.
You'll need to scramble. All right. So how do we kick this thing off? I mean, we should let Scott go third, because he's really wasn't prepared. And maybe we should talk, guys, we should talk about this, in real time on the phone besides text, how this comes together with just fragmented text.
Yeah, that's okay. Text is fine.
Okay.
I say let's Andy start it off, since he kicked off the idea of a Thanksgiving feast.
Absolutely. So, I mean, my favorite entree, and of course, I mean, this is Thanksgiving after all, so we're talking about turkey, right? So I think I am a big turkey guy. It's the one time a year I eat turkey, but I will say that of the turkey, my favorite part is the drumstick, right? My favorite part is the drumstick. So taking that's my main course. That's my entree, the nice dark meat of the drumstick. For me, the main course of the sport, that which has kept me in it for over 30 years, the main course of trail and ultra running for me is, and I might sound cliche, but it is what it is the community. I think we in trail and ultra running have a community, and I've lived in a lot of different places. I've lived in California, I've lived in Virginia, I've lived in Idaho, I've lived in Pennsylvania. I currently live in Arizona, and the one through line of all of that is that what we have in common, what we share as trail and ultra runners, is absolutely our main course. That is our heart and soul. That's what keeps people coming back to the sport, even when they're not participating in it anymore. It is that feeling, that richness, that love, that absolute passion that comes with being part of such an extraordinary community. So my main course, that which makes the sport, second to none, is our community.
Well done.
And I can't argue with that. You pick the lowest hanging fruit of all things to show up and knock on the door and holding a turkey in hand to come to this Thanksgiving feast. I'm glad that you selected that, because I'm going to select the same thing, AJW. But one thing that I know, and I'm going to go for the white meat, the breast. I'm going to go right to the top of that turkey and have that wonderful slice that just lays on the plate, just ready for the feast. But one thing I noticed about all the places that you said you lived, I think we've podcasted with you at every single location.
Yeah, I think we have, actually. And that's actually emblematic of our connection and the nature of community, right? Like, whether I was in Virginia or Pennsylvania or Idaho or California or now Arizona, we've connected in that way. And whether it's with my dark meat drumstick or your white meat breast, we're still breaking bread and enjoying that.
Ooh, you see how you wove all that eating and feasting through that description?
And who knows? I don't know where I'm going to move next, but I hope wherever that is, you guys will still call me up once in a while, and we'll do a podcast.
Hey, I have a little bit of a bone to pick. Luckily, my wife doesn't listen to the podcast, but we have a very small Thanksgiving this year because our kids are going different directions, except for editor Ryan. He's my youngest son. He's going to come down. So it's just going to be the 3 of us. And my wife gave the bad news a week ago to me that she's not making a turkey. And I look forward to that turkey all year long. It's the only time we have turkey is at Thanksgiving, because it takes a long time to cook if you do it right. And so I'm a little upset about that I don't get the turkey. I don't know what we're going to make, unless Ryan, this is a cue for you to start picking on your mom and saying, "Hey, we really need to have a turkey." It'll be an emotional letdown if you don't make turkey this year.
Man, that makes me sad.
Do you guys have turkey? Do you guys have turkey other than on Thanksgiving?
No, I don't. Don, do you?
No. I mean, besides the Subway sandwich, maybe some turkey on that.
Yeah.
But not the official turkey, the full spread. I mean, Scott, I think I could. I'll even call Donna if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, should we? I mean,
should we start a TRN petition?
Should we get a GoFundMe thing going with Donna and let her? I mean, we can do this. We can do this, Scott. It's still a week away.
Well, we're still talking food, right? I will tell you that she makes the best turkey I've ever had. She came up with a recipe probably 20 years ago, and it has citrus inside the turkey, and so it tastes citrusy. It has an orange and a lemon taste to it, and it's moist. The turkey breast, I hated white meat growing up because it was always dry. This turkey breast, you can push it, and it's oozy. It's oozy.
Oh, wow.
So anyway,
no wonder you're despondent about this. I mean,
hopefully we'll talk about running during this podcast, but I just had to say.
Well, I've got to say too, I've had, our kids are kind of the same age. I've had a couple of Thanksgivings with just 3 or 4 people, but we still suck it up and make the turkey.
Oh, we've always sucked it up and had the turkey, and I prefer only 3 people coming, because then that means there's more leftovers.
Absolutely, right.
I think you just talked about the bonus question, Scott, because I was going. What the bonus question will be, if you hang on to the end and you can tolerate all of this, is what your first. This is food for thought, no pun intended. What is your next meal, the very next day, whether it's early morning or afternoon?
I know exactly what it is.
Oh my gosh, yes, I know where you're going, Don.
So we're going to leave that hanging, but I think I'm ready to talk about my entree, unless we want to continue with Donna's wonderful recipe.
Didn't you already talk about your entree?
No.
Oh, go ahead then.
My trail running entree.
Oh, what's the trail running entree? Sorry, Don. We don't want to skip that. It's a running podcast.
Let me knock on the TRN Thanksgiving door as I stand there with my full-size turkey in hand with 4 drumsticks on it, much like John Madden back in the day with multiple drumsticks, because I know AGW is a fan of the dark meat, and it's and they're running legs. There's a lot of dark meat, which is for repetition, and that's the type of meat it is. So I'm not surprised that he likes to eat the drumsticks. But the breast is the most tender. Now, I do use Donna's recipe. Over the years, I've been able to glean that from Scott. He gave it to me when he was delirious one day, and I ended up with it. And so that is my favorite entree. But let me tell you about my entree of trail running. And I better look at my note here to make sure I know exactly what it is. And you know what that is? It's that little voice inside of my head that happens at any time. It's just not a big race or a big day. It happens all the time. It's the discipline to do the things that I don't really want to do. It's maybe getting up and getting out to the trailhead that particular morning. Or maybe it's trying to get to that next aid station and then promising myself to continue on. It's that constant battle of going to the trailhead right where it splits. To the left is a short way. To the right, that's the long route. And needing that voice in my head arguing, go the easy way. You've got to get back. There's work you could do. There's a lot of things to do. Go left. But no, go right. And I think my entree is that constant battle with that voice in my head that always wants me to take the easy way out. But every time I take the not easy way, the harder way, it feels so good when I accomplish it. When I've done it, I know I've beaten it. I beat that voice in my head that says, go the easy way. And the other voice said, no, you really should go the long way. And so my favorite entree that can happen any day that you're a trail runner is that voice in your head, that little argument, and that moment of decision. I'm going right. And once you go right, you don't turn around. It's that one step that makes that decision. And that's my trail running entree.
How many times, I'm going to ask both of you this question, how many times have you shown up for a solo run and nobody knows how long, or, you know, you're not tracking it or whatever, and you show up to the trailhead and you kind of sigh and you look at your phone and you look at your watch and then you just said, you know what, screw it. Versus what I did this morning, which is what I wanted to do, was say, screw it. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to run down to Don, just past the water trough. Andy, you know where that is.
AJW knows that water trough.
Yeah, I know where that is.
I'm going to run past the water trough down to the right turn, that first hard right. And if I'm still not feeling it, I'll turn around and go back. And once I hit that right turn, it's over. I mean, I am just like, this is where I need to be right now. And you finish the workout. It only takes, how far is that? Maybe 300 yards, 400 yards.
Yeah. Not
and it's not that far. And once you do, like you say, Don, you take the right and you go and you're doing it, even though you don't want to, it doesn't take long to change the attitude and make a difference.
Yeah, and Don, I love that. And I'm sort of answering your question, Scott, but I love the voice in your head thing, Don, because it's real, you know, and especially for runners as we get older, you know, we've had more experience with those voices in our head, both positively and negatively, right? We've had those voices in our head that have said, don't go out, maybe you'll get injured or whatever else. But we've also had those voices in our head that are like, man, if I just make it down to the water trough and make the right instead of the left, I'm going to be so much more satisfied at the end of all of this. And I'm reminded, and I'm sure people could look this up, but I'm reminded, you guys, when we had Courtney Dauwalter on this very podcast, it must have been 250 episodes ago by now, but you know, because it was before she was Courtney Dauwalter like she is now. But she talked literally about, you know, because we were asking her about her training and whether or not she has a coach and has a program, and she kind of just in classic Courtney style said, well, I go to the end of my road and I either go right for my long loop or I go left for my short loop. And, you know, and it kind of, and it was, I remember the wisdom in that, and she was in her early 30s at the time, but the wisdom in that of like, well, you know, I'm just going to see what the day brings. And frankly, to circle it back to Thanksgiving, Don, like we give thanks at Thanksgiving to all the gifts and the bounty and the food and all of that. But I also think we give thanks to being able to do what we do and to open ourselves up to that voice in our head, to open ourselves up to say, yeah, I'm going to go right at the water trough instead of left, is kind of what keeps us going then the next day and the day after that and the day after that.
And not to bring your condition into it, AGW, but this popped in my head that, you know, it's nice when you have the choice of going the right or the left direction. But there was a time when you were getting your hip worked on that choice was taken away completely. And so how liberating is it to feel that I have a choice to go left or right? And if it's only your own will, then it should be right most of the time.
Well, and I think for those people who've been through injuries, who've been through, say, even big things like me with hip replacement, you're all the more thankful for the opportunity, even to be able, because you're right. 2 years ago, I couldn't even go down to the water trough, right? And now I can go to the water trough, and yeah, maybe 1 day out of 5 I'll go left, but 4 days out of 5 I'll go right, and that's the voice in my head.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
So that's my entree, gentlemen, and I bring that with enough for leftovers that we'll talk about at the end what our meal might be the next day. But
Don, you are crushing this episode. I mean, you can only go downhill from here. So Scott, how about?
I will.
Scott, how about you?
We still have 40 minutes. AJW. He may have started this run a little too fast.
Yeah, he got up to the escarpment in course record time.
I look back and I see M1 bib behind me. Not good.
It's not a good place to be in.
No.
Well, of course, my entree is the turkey, and I've told you about how much I love the turkey. But the way that I equated it was a little bit different than where you guys were coming from. But as I was thinking about what is the key to trail running or running for me, and I think that regardless of how fast you are, how slow you are, how new you are to the sport, the long run is the turkey, the long run. And you can define long run however you want. If you try to skip it, your whole week is going to feel empty if you skip it, right? It's key to the whole meal. The turkey is the key to the whole meal. Now, what does a long run do? Well, it builds identity. It builds durability. It builds confidence. And that's the protein of any plan or any meal. Everybody has a way that they like to prepare their turkey, whether it's dropping it in a bucket of peanut oil or putting it on the barbecue and smoking the turkey, or however you're going to do it. Just like that, there's different ways that you can enjoy your long run, whether it's a solo run at sunrise, whether it's the group run that you do with your running team, whether you do it at talking pace, whether you do it at race pace, whether you listen to an audiobook, a podcast, whether you have headphones on, whether you don't, whether it's a point-to-point or a loop. They're all different, but the key is that long run. So that's my entree.
I like it, Scott. I think that you hit the nail on the head. That it's the event itself, how it makes you feel the rest of the week. You can either beat yourself up because you didn't make it happen, or you can give yourself a personal high five because you took it on and you did it.
And I will say that long run, and I'm putting air quotes out, for me at this point in my life, is the Saturday run where Don and I meet up in the morning and we go out for a run. That's the turkey for me for the rest of the week. And so all the subsequent runs or going to the gym or whatever, that's all side dishes for me. But the turkey is that Saturday run with my friend Don.
Well, and the long run, and by the way, listeners, from time to time when these guys are out on their run, they send me messages,
or we FaceTimed you before,
and they FaceTime me, and I'm like bungled out of my slumber because it's like, what are these guys doing? And usually Don has some great idea, and Scott sort of shoots it down, and we kind of come sort of in the middle of it. But I do think, I mean, what makes long distance runners different, and it's like obvious, but is that long run, whatever it is, whether you measure it in miles or whether you measure it in hours or whether you measure it in any sort of that long run, that like, oh, today's my long run day. I'm going out. I'm carrying my pack and I've got my calories and I've got, like there is something that is, you're right, Scott. That's like the North Star. That's the turkey. As long as we still have that long run, whatever that is, we are runners, and we are, even if we're walking 70% of it, that's at our core who we are.
And if you live in the United States, you know this. If you have watched any commercials outside the United States, you know this. what is associated with Thanksgiving is the turkey. All commercials, all advertisements, when they're advertising Thanksgiving, it's the turkey. And I think that is the identity of Thanksgiving, is the turkey. And so that long run is the identity of trail runners and runners. I wouldn't even say any runner is getting out there, being identified as a runner is the long run.
Now, entrees are important, Scott, but what makes Thanksgiving table spread so large, what takes so long to prepare it, and so long to eat it and work it off, and so long to clean it up, are all the sides. And that's what I'm interested in learning. What does AJW bring from maybe his childhood or as an adult? What does his favorite side dish look like?
This is what I've been most excited about for this. This is what gave me the idea for this podcast. So bear with me here, but for years as a child growing up, all through my teenage years and even into my first few years of college, my family shared Thanksgiving with the Geiger family. They're a family, that's their name, the Geigers, Charles and Adelia Geiger, and their kids, Sarah and Allison and Jenny. And they, especially Allison, who's still a chef to this day, always prepared an incredible mushroom dish. Ooh. You don't necessarily think mushrooms on Thanksgiving, but she prepared this incredible mushroom dish. I finally, as we were sort of realizing that we were no longer going to have this tradition every year, I asked her about the recipe, and she kind of went off like chefs do and I said, you know what? I said to my wife, Shelley, I want to substitute gravy with mushrooms. And I went down a rabbit hole like we've all done, or a rabbit trail, as Scott likes to say. And I found a recipe from the Greens restaurant in San Francisco, California, a legendary vegetarian and vegan restaurant in San Francisco, for wild mushroom ragu. And this wild mushroom ragu is a red wine based wild mushroom. You cook it for about 6 hours. It becomes a mushroom stew. You use shiitake mushrooms and portobello mushrooms and cremini mushrooms and morel mushrooms if you have it, and you really make it into a stew, and you melt it down, and it tastes at once wild and wholesome. And I remember doing this our first Thanksgiving, where we were in our new house in Phoenix. We had a couple of friends over, and I was like, yeah, we don't have gravy, but we're going to have this side dish of mushrooms. This was in 2001. And everybody just loved it. And they just put it on there, just like you do with gravy. They put it on their mashed potatoes, and they put it on their turkey, and they put it on their stuffing. And to this day, 26 years later now, I'm going to make the stock this week. It starts with a wild mushroom stock, and then the wild mushroom gravy. What does this have to do with trail running? You know what, you guys? As much as we love the sport because of where it's gone, and it's still wild on the inside.
Ooh.
It is, trail running is still, when all's said and done, when people come to the sport, they come to it because of something wild, something different, something unknown, something as Gary Snyder said, the incredible California poet, like, in wildness is the preservation of the world. And I think this side dish, this wild mushroom ragu that has somehow become this family tradition for the JWs, does represent something for trail and ultra running, that no matter what happens, UTMB, Western States, lottery this, lottery that, sponsorship, money, everything else, we're all drawn to the sport because of something wild in us. There's something wild in us that says, oh yeah, I'm going to go out for 5 hours and run with my friend Don, and we're going to talk about stuff. Or I'm going to go out and run for 5 hours all by myself, and I'm going to learn something about myself. There's something about the wildness of our sport that's an absolutely appropriate side dish to the community of our sport. And so that's my side dish.
Hey, Andy, I want to add something. So I was out on a run this morning, and I am going to show you my screen here.
Oh, that'd be cool. Did you find a mushroom?
All
right, there we go. Whoa, yes. Whoa, look at that.
So this is a picture of a tree, at the side of a tree that has all this moss on it.
Oh, that's
and it
incredible.
Had these really cool looking mushrooms growing out the side. And as you were telling that story, I thought of this.
Those look amazing. I mean, they might be poisonous and you might die if you eat them, but
I'm not sharing anymore, right? So I thought of that, and then I will tell you, and it goes back to your wildness of this, Andy. I wish I can remember, but I was camping up at Devil's Thumb one weekend, and we got up one morning, and there were these people that were getting ready to walk down the Thumb, down to the canyon there, with buckets, and I go, they weren't runners, and I go, hey, what are you guys doing? And they go, there's a short, like, week or two, or maybe a month, 3 weeks, where a special mushroom grows on the Western States Trail. And they said the name of the mushroom. I don't know what it is, but you really have to look for it. And there's like this 3 week period where you can go harvest these mushrooms. And this guy talked to me about these mushrooms for probably 20 or 30 minutes. But that's what he was doing. He was going out on the Western States Trail looking for these wild mushrooms.
I love it. And I've got to say, I mean, I'm not normally that kind of a person, but like for Thanksgiving with the mushrooms and how it goes with everything else, like it's just my jam. I mean, I can't wait. I mean, like literally, we're recording this. It's still 10 days before Thanksgiving, but I'm going to start making the stock tomorrow. Right. Wow. Like this is how this is. But and my family, I think my family, they sort of tolerate it. I think some of them like it. But I mean, to later, Don, this stuff really goes well with leftovers, too, by the way. You can put it on mashed potatoes. You can put it on everything.
Hey, do you guys find that sometimes if you're looking at your plate, that the sides that we're talking about, the mushrooms in this case, are probably the most anticipated part of the meal? The turkey is just a means to get more of the side in your belly.
100%. 100%.
Don, what's your side?
Well, I'll tell you my side. Well, first off, I'm not going to be as clever as AJW with the wild side of things. I'm really envious at the preparation, the time, the creativity. I'm just going to tell you my favorite side, and then my favorite side of trail running. So that's the best I can do. My favorite side is cranberries. I love cranberries. The only time of the year that I eat them. And no, it's not, well, I do eat them other times. I tolerate them out of a can, Ocean Spray, jellied, or what's the other with whole berries. I tolerate those, only thinking back how much I love my mom's cranberries that she buys in the package, pours it in the pan. I watched her. She boils it. She throws ungodly amounts of sugar in there, I'm sure, a stick of cinnamon, and she lets it set. And it just is so good, so tart. And I actually hope that she leaves some of those very, very sour tart ones in there, so I get a spoonful of, or a forkful of it, as I have my favorite side.
Oh, interesting.
So that's my favorite side. And I'm not gonna say how that might play into my favorite post-Thanksgiving first meal, but I will say my favorite side about trail running is the time that we spend with friends, talking uninterrupted for an hour, 3 hours, 5 hours. Doesn't matter. Where else in life would we even get to do that? We wouldn't even sit long enough. We'd be looking at our phone. We'd be late for something else. Who says, hey, let's just talk about stuff. And whatever we say is safe as we talk in this group. And let's just have a discussion for like 4 hours. What do you say? No one would do that. Had I not got involved and maybe all of us that are listening and participating, we wouldn't have had that depth of a relationship with friends and colleagues and competitors or just people, to have those conversations about endless topics, about personal issues that you don't share with anybody, sometimes even yourself. You learn about yourself as you have these discussions, or listen to somebody else and reflect about yourself. Those are just that's probably the side dish, AGW, to your point, maybe the best part of the meal. And that's what I enjoy most about trail running, is my relationships with the people that I run with the chance to talk to Scott about his work or my work, or it's just a wonderful human experience to exchange ideas without feeling judged. And that's my side dish.
You know, I'm going to chirp in there because Don and I had a conversation about this recently. We should probably get Congress and our judicial branch out on the trail for a trail run, because you can go out there with people that have vastly differing ideologies about politics, or whether the earth is round or flat, and it's a place where you can talk and listen and learn from someone else's perspective without judging. Like you said, Don, you're not out there to judge, you're out there to listen and to learn, and maybe that'll make us better human beings.
Oh, he dropped that in there. He knew I figured it would get in there somewhere. He did it.
Yeah.
I'm right there with you guys, and I also think that there are things that we, the big collective we, say out on the trail that we don't say anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure anybody would be totally willing to admit that, but when I think of some of my dearest friends in the world, the people that with whom I have sort of the most intimate connections with, aside from my wife and my 3 children and the rest of my extended family, it's those people with whom I've shared those experiences. And you can't make that up, right? It just happens, whether it's in a race, whether it's with Don in Tour de France, talking in 7 different languages with people. And when he barely even made it 70 miles, and he had established all these, connections, or when he got his SKT at, in the Western States, or, there's all kinds of things where it's all happened. But joking aside, I mean, that is kind of the essence of the side dish, right? The side dish is what makes the main course better.
Yeah.
And there's something about getting out there with the group that's running down that trail, that you strip away some of that facade of trying to be the tough guy or the smart guy or the whatever, that ego piece that you have with you gets stripped away once you get into the tough miles. You become your raw self, and it's okay to be weak at a moment. It's okay to ask for help at a moment. And that's really what I enjoy about that moment of conversation, of just being your true self and not being fearful of what others might say or think. It's just a wonderful place to be.
Yeah, well
I'm
done.
thinking about it. My entree may be the cranberry.
Cranberries?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, dude, you can't
like
have you can't you have to have turkey with cranberry.
You're right. What would cranberry be without the turkey?
Without turkey.
Yeah.
Then it's just a bowl of cranberry. All right, what do you got, Scott?
Okay, so I'm going to argue with you about your mushrooms, even though I would love to try your mushrooms sometime, Andy. But I'm going to talk about the side that I think is the most pervasive side in my turkey platter that I'm having, and that's got to be the gravy. Because once I put the turkey and the stuffing and the mashed potatoes and the peas and all of the things on the plate, and the gravy boat comes to me, I start, and I, of course, make a little volcano out of my mashed potatoes, and I fill that up. And then I move over to the stuffing and make sure there's some gravy on the stuffing. And then I go to the turkey, got to put some gravy on the turkey. And I end up putting gravy on the peas because it's got to be everywhere. So the side that I'm talking about is the pervasive gravy. It is everywhere, and it makes everything that much better. Now, people may argue with me on the running equivalent of the gravy, and that is the gear gravy. And we have gear in our sport that is pervasive. It could be packs, it could be socks, it could be shoes, it could be headlamps, it could be our wearable computers that we put on our watch on our wrists. It could be our running packs, our buffs, our shorts. The gear is kind of what I get excited about. They cover the weaknesses of our of our run, if you will, and make it fun. It makes it taste better. It brings everything together, and so you can actually ruin a run with the wrong types of gear, wrong socks, wrong pack, or whatever. So I think that the gravy is what brings everything together for me, and that comes to the gear. So that's my my side. I love gear. Well, Don and I always say when we start getting a little worn out and a little tired about running, we need to purchase a new pair of shoes. Because that's what'll get us out the door. Hey, we got a new pair of shoes. Let's go run tomorrow. So that's my side dish.
I mean, I love that, and it's kind of, you just have a different version of gravy, right? Your gravy is probably, it doesn't take a week to prepare like mine.
No, not
right?
at all.
But the idea of spreading it over everything, right? And that you've got to, you're like, oh, I even got to put it on the peas, is part of that sort of gear conversation. And then I think it becomes, okay, well, do you really need gear?
Right.
Do you really need gravy on all this?
That's why it's
right?
a side.
That's
why it's a side.
Right.
All you need at Thanksgiving is the turkey.
Right.
All you need is a pair of shoes to go out and run on the trails, right? A t-shirt. Well, Gordy doesn't even have a t-shirt that he owns. You need a pair of shorts and a pair of shoes, and that's really all you need. But boy, get some of that other gear going, baby. Just makes everything better.
And so AJW, I'll bring this up to you. I don't need Scott to weigh in. Any surprise that the guy that wears 2 watches also likes gravy on his peas?
I know. I mean, come on.
Hey, I will say I haven't worn 2 watches in probably 6 months.
Oh, that's good. You're progressing.
Yeah. I'm trying to not flood my plate with gravy. I'm just trying to put enough on it so that it makes everything taste a little bit better. I can still taste the turkey and the stuffing. It's not the taste of just the gravy.
Yeah, but Scott, there's still 2 tan lines on each arm. So we're there from the summertime.
Yeah.
Now what's left is the dessert. I mean, we've stuffed ourselves with turkey, and gravy, and cranberries, and there's dessert waiting. And the people that spend their time preparing these pies and all these different sweets that are waiting for us, we can't insult them. We need to take a full serving and enjoy it. But it really is one of the best things to eat. I mean, after all, it is dessert. And so I'm curious, AJW, what's your table look like, and what's your favorite dessert?
I hope I'm assuming I'm going to steal this from one of you guys, but I'm going to go old school with pumpkin pie.
Oh.
Pumpkin pie made, not just any old pumpkin pie, but pumpkin pie made with like a nice graham cracker crust. Like turkey, I only eat it once a year. Right? It's only on Thanksgiving. I wouldn't think of eating pumpkin pie in July or February, but pumpkin pie on Thanksgiving is like my jam. It's gooey. It's, with a little whipped cream on top. It kind of goes down easy. It's sort of smooth. It's kind of unique tasting, especially if you put a little cinnamon in there or a little vanilla or whatever it is that you flavor up the Libby's pumpkin that invariably is made just poured out of a can. But it's a sweet treat at the end of an incredible Thanksgiving meal. But the purpose of our little dessert thing is, what is it that makes our sport the sweetest of all sports? And I've got to say, and we've talked a lot about community, we've talked about relationships, we've talked about training, we've talked about breaking through to the other side. What I think makes our sport the sweetest is that thing out there that we're chasing. Maybe it's the fastest time down to the water trough. Maybe it's finally getting into Western States with 256 tickets. Maybe it's finally running, that 5K race, that 5K turkey trot. That thing, what makes our sport the sweetest. Maybe it's when you finally turn 60 and you're in a new age group and you can beat that guy down the road who's been beating you for 6 years. What makes our sport sweetest is there's always something else to chase. If you want to chase it, if you're motivated to chase it, if you're inspired, if you're not, that's fine too. But our sport is sweetest. That eating that last, that piece of pumpkin pie is most sweet because I've got this other thing to chase. Yes, take me. Yes, I've run Western States. I've run all these races, but I can still chase this thing or that thing or that other thing. I can still find something that inspires me and gives me meaning and makes me have fun being out here in the rain or the 100-degree heat or whatever it is. That makes our sport so sweet that it is ultimately the dessert, the cherry on top of our Thanksgiving feast.
I like it. And it doesn't mean that you have to break all your previous best times. It doesn't mean that at all. It means doing something that scares you a little bit. Not sure if I can pull this off. Remember the first time you ran the long run, whatever distance, you questioned as you went to sleep that night, I wonder if I can do this. I wonder if this distance is in me. And it's that thought that really motivates you to try hard when it gets hard. It makes you finish when you want to stop because you don't want to let yourself down. And I think that those are available when you're in your prime, a little past your prime. There's still things out there that will challenge. And if we take it on with that type of enthusiasm, with the sweetness that a dessert deserves, then I think it's still out there always.
And very applicable, Andy, that you picked it as the dessert, because it can't come before the entree or the side dish. You got to have the pyramid of fitness and health and all that sort of stuff that we talked about in the main entree and the side dishes, to taste the sweetness and to find the sweetness.
Well, you also, to go a little bit further down the metaphor, you have to clear the table too, right? You have to clear all the dishes off. I'm a big believer in making sure all the stuff is cleared off before you bring the dessert out, right? It gives us all a little break to let the turkey and the cranberry and the stuffing and the gravy to settle in. But then once the table is clear and the dessert comes and it's in front of you, you're like, ooh, I could do that. It breaks things down, makes them a little more simple, a little bit more clear, a little bit less cluttered. And I love that about that unique little dessert. Now, of course, you don't want to take a second or third or fourth slice of dessert, because then you're chasing things all over. You're like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that.
Well done.
Just one piece of pumpkin pie. You eat your pumpkin pie and you go.
I do like that too, Scott. As you were saying you liked it, I thought I'd jump in before you could say anything, so I could say this, that is in moderation. It's good. If you fill up on 4 different desserts, it loses its excitement and its uniqueness and its position of dessert.
It can burn you out.
Mm.
You can go into a sugar rush if you have 4 pieces of pie.
Well, all right. What do you got, Don?
Well, it's probably no surprise that my mom's already shown up with the cranberries, and in her other hand that she handed to me was Mom's apple pie, because she makes one and it includes cinnamon as well. I think maybe I have a weakness for cinnamon, but that apple pie is good. I mean, they are the green apples that are sliced just right. The crust on the top is flaky. It's so tasty, and and I don't get to eat it all year, and that's what makes it so special. But I think that as I think back, how does that tie into trail running? How does that fit into this conversation? And what came to me was memories, good memories. As I think back to all the, and everybody listening to this can identify with this. There have been some runs that are awful, that if we could click our fingers, we could pop ourselves back into our car, we would do it in a second. And we ask ourselves, why are we out here? But as we look back on those times, those are hard to find. You only remember the good. You just remember the moments that you were with your friends, that you were talking, that you were running those deep miles, but it felt good. I think the good memories are the dessert of our sport. As we look back on the years we've ran, what surfaces, what comes to us, not the trauma, not the difficult periods. It's all the wonderful things that flood in. And that's the dessert as we think about this feast, ultra running, of this trail running that we endure. I think that is the dessert, are the good memories that stay with us. And the tough times, they kind of fleet away.
We're now, 50 plus minutes into the episode, and I'm surprised that it took this long. But Andy, would just want to say, how did the apple pie taste for you in 2015?
No, it was 2005.
2005. Sorry, 2005. Sorry.
2015, he was thinking 10 years back. So you were right, Scott. How was that pie celebrating 10 years of your 2005 victory?
Yes, 53 minutes in, and we haven't mentioned 2005 yet. I do agree, Don. And what I'll add about memories too, especially in trail and ultra running, is, and my wife points this out a lot, right? Like, I can't remember what she sent me to the grocery store for, but I can remember my split from, Michigan Bluff to Forest Hill in 2005.
Well, that's important. That's important.
Yeah. So I do think there's richness, right? Desserts are usually rich and wholesome and sweet, of course, but there's richness in the memories we have. And often you have that memory. I often see people once a year at Western States, right? But every year I go back, it's like, it's just like I saw them yesterday, right? The memories that we build, the way in which history builds on itself in this sport is incredible, and it's super sweet. It's as sweet as your mom's apple pie.
Well done. Scott Ward, what about your favorite dessert? What do you come to the door with at this TRN Thanksgiving Festival feast?
I married into a family that spent a lot of time and effort on pie baking. When you go to my mother-in-law's house for Thanksgiving, and I'm not exaggerating, Ryan, you can chirp in and you can call this a truth or a lie. There is no less than 12 different pies sitting on the counter prior to the turkey even being put into the oven. And there's a pie for everybody. There's rhubarb pie, there's apple pie, there's pumpkin pie, there's blueberry pie, there's cherry pie. There's all sorts of pie in there. And as I was thinking about how that equates to running and what makes things sweet and remind us of this sport, I was thinking it's the gratitude that we feel. We talked about a little bit, about Andy being able to, get his hip replaced and what joy that brought back, the gratitude that he has to be back on the trail. And I think that that's what, at the end of the meal, when we have our pie, we kind of sit back and we smile. And I think that's what gratitude is. Gratitude for the community, gratitude for our health, gratitude for the trails that we get to run, gratitude for the friendships that we've created, gratitude for the memories that we have, and maybe gratitude for a sport that may have saved us in our mental health, or has saved us going through difficult times in our lives. So I think that's the gratitude pie is what I put on the table after I clear the plates, Andy.
Yeah, of course. Hey, before we jump into my question, on behalf of all the Trail Runner Nation listeners, where do we go to sign up for that 12 pie extravaganza? Because that sounds incredible. I mean, you're serious? Like 12 pies?
Ryan, 12 pies.
Ryan's nodding. Joking? Ryan's nodding. Oh my gosh! I thought
even though my wife is not going to make a turkey for Thanksgiving, I guarantee you there'll be at least 3 pies for the 3 of us that are going to be there.
Goodness. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Well, yeah, and I come from a big pie making family too, but not that big. I mean, that's a whole nother level. I want to say on the gratitude, I mean, it is, and it is pie is of course a wonderful sort of representation of gratitude, but it is Thanksgiving after all. And, our international listeners might wonder about the holiday itself, but we give thanks to, everyone who came before us. And I think, Scott, you're right that, we give thanks, the 3 of us are, sort of older ultra runners right now, but we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us, and those who came before us. And long before there was, Strava and Training Peaks and trail and ultra running coaches, there were just other people out there dispensing wisdom, like telling you, oh yeah, this is a good part to go slow, or this is a good part to walk, or this is a good place to take a gel, or whatever the case may be. Like, I give gratitude. I think of gratitude to all those mentors of mine in the sport who sort of helped me not go astray when I could have easily gone astray in my 20s and 30s. And that's kind of what this pie extravaganza represents. It's like, whatever's going on in the world, you guys are going to sit down and dive into 12 pies, and you're going to give thanks to that.
Now, AJW, I've done this long enough to recognize a perfect close if I've ever heard one. That was beautiful. But I'm going to step right in the middle of it and talk about
leftovers.
We got to do leftovers.
You were doing leftovers. So just a quick down and dirty. What's your first calorie intake after a full evening feasting and all the wonderful things you've talked about? AJW, what does your leftover meal look like?
All right. So, I mean, we're doing the actual leftovers and then the trail running leftovers. Like the actual leftovers, I'm full blown. I get 2 big slices of sourdough bread. I toast them. I slather them with mayonnaise. I layer a layer of turkey on it, then a layer of stuffing, then a layer of cranberry, then, in my case, a layer of mushroom ragu. I shove it down, squish it together so it's warm, but it's not like hot. It's not a panini or anything like that. And then I sit back and watch whatever football game is on the Saturday after Thanksgiving. There's usually something on. Oh, I also put salt on it. I usually don't put salt on any, but that's my go-to. And often I'll then go back and have a second one and a third one. And often I eat more on the Saturday after Thanksgiving than I actually eat on Thanksgiving.
Agreed.
Nice. And I didn't expect you to have us tie in a trail running moment to that, but do you have a trail? And I may not even have one. I'll be thinking hard here, but what's your trail running moment that correlates with that?
The trail running leftovers, if you will. I mean, I think what I'm seeing, especially in the last couple of years, and this is true particularly of young people coming into the sport, is I think the sport's been around long enough that there's a fair bit of homage paid to the history of the sport. Like there's people that are interested in hearing like stories of Entrees and Tim Tweetmeyer and Matt Carpenter and even going all the way back to, I mean, when I think about what Jamil is doing with Ultra Running Magazine and bringing back like the leftovers, if you will, and it's probably a bad term, but there's a growing interest, I think, because trail and ultra running is now 50, 60 years old and like a legitimate sport in the world, in like, wow, how did we get here? Where did we come from? Right. And it's not exactly like Mickey Mantle and Babe Ruth and stuff like that, but it's moving in that direction. And I'm so excited about that because that's sort of the sit back and eat that turkey sandwich and tell stories.
I like it.
Love it.
Well, I'll tell you, my favorite leftover next meal is that turkey sandwich. It's just a couple pieces of bread, couple pieces of that wonderful moist turkey, and then the cranberry sauce that I talked about earlier, or jelly, slamming that together, and that is the perfect sandwich. Nothing more, no salt, no gravy, no yams, no dressing, just those items: bread, turkey, cranberries, and that's it. That's heaven.
Oh, that's super simple.
But that's all I got in me. But now that we wanted to relate it to a trail running leftover, you gave it to me, AJW. It's that moment that we spend 3 hours out there with our group, and then for some reason, trail runners have to stand by their car and talk for another 30 minutes. What was left unsaid out on the trail?
Oh, that's perfect.
Oh, dude, that is so true. That is so true. We've been out here 3 hours and now we're standing around
talking.
That is truly a leftover.
Go home, people. I'm going to let Ryan tell you what our favorite leftover is, and it actually happens the next day. Ryan, what is it?
Man, sounds like you guys got some work to do on the home front.
So let me tell you how these leftovers were prepared. So the carcass of the turkey, after the meal and dishes are being done, the carcass goes into the big stew pot.
Right.
And with vegetables and herbs and spices.
So that happens right away on Thanksgiving night. Like she's going, okay, got it.
Right. So that thing goes in the pot and it starts simmering to make the turkey noodle broth, the turkey broth. And it probably takes 6 hours or longer for that. I don't think I've stayed up long enough to see that get bottled up. But then the next morning, homemade noodles are made out on the counter. She makes some noodles and it gets cut big, thick, yummy noodles. and the turkey noodle soup gets made. And that is, I agree with you, Ryan. As much as I love the turkey on Thanksgiving, the turkey noodle soup the next day is probably the best.
Okay, AJW, this is a conversation between you and I, and Ryan and Scott. Neither one of them can participate. But what I see here very clearly is Donna has been doing this for a number of years, decades even, and never had any help from Ryan or Scott. They don't even know how long it takes because they go to bed. I think it's time I think what Donna is doing is saying, step up, guys, step up and take over, because I like the soup too. I like the turkey. It's time for you to do it.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing, Don. I mean, Scott just outed himself. It's like, I've never even been up late enough to see what happens. It's just like he wakes up in the morning and it just miraculously appears. Oh, it's Friday, Thanksgiving. It's Black Friday. I'm going to eat it. Yeah. I think you guys, I don't know. You reap what you sow, I guess.
We'll step it up. But here is my trail running metaphor for that.
Oh yeah.
And I'm reminded again on my run this morning, there are certain people that I see out on the trail on a regular basis, not frequently, but on a regular basis, that just make me smile. I've never run with them other than just saying hi or maybe even having a short conversation with them. Don would know exactly. I'm thinking of 3 people specifically, and I only know one person's name. Shame on me. And that's Matt Lambert. And that's one that we usually have the longest conversation with. But there's another guy that I bumped into this morning that Don and I always bump into. It's the guy that is always wearing pants and he has a speaker that he listens to music or whatever on, and he's always walking. He's never running, but he's always walking, and we pass him. And I love seeing him out there. And then there's the other guy. I haven't seen him out there for a long time, but he's the shirtless tan dude, old guy. You know who I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
And he's also a guy that looks like he's running, but he's actually just walking, but he makes his arms look like he's running. And he's an old dude. I'm sure he does some Grecian formula on his hair because he doesn't have white hair, but I think he's a pretty old dude. But every time I see him, and at one point he told me his name and I can't remember it, but that's the leftovers that I love, is seeing these people that, I'm not expecting, but they just make me smile. And they're out there. They're not at races. They're not at aid stations volunteering at the races, but they're out there on the trail. And so that's my leftovers.
And then that's not a leftover at all. It is a staple. Our community is the staple. And that's what I took away from this conversation. I'm very hungry. As we talked about all this food, I haven't eaten yet, but I'll tell you, I'm gonna stretch the stomach out a bit more in preparation for the big Thanksgiving feast.
Hey Don, do you know the shirtless guy's name?
No, but his arms are running about a 7:30 pace, and his legs are a 15-minute pace.
And his legs are pretty fit. I mean, look at his legs, and he's been out there. He's walked more miles than we've run, for sure, probably combined. Good member. Well, Nation members, this is going out this Friday. This is going out on Friday after Thanksgiving. So we hope that you enjoyed the Thanksgiving episode, and we hope that you're having some good leftovers today. We hope that you're getting out there, and if you're in the U.S., one of the famous things is the turkey trots that are out there. There are 5Ks, 10Ks. I don't know if there's longer ones, but it's a big running holiday as well. And so we hope that you got your runs in, you got your entrees, your side dishes, your desserts, and your leftovers. And hope you enjoyed it with your family and your loved ones and your friends. And most importantly, we hope that you go out and run
Moss.
Now, if you don't know, and you probably should know, Andy started a podcast, his own podcast, Crack a Brew with AJW, How long ago was that? Was that 2 years ago?
No, dude, it's been
3?
3 years. We're
3
closing in.
years.
We're closing in on 3 years. Yeah.
And one of the things that I love about his podcast, he does seasons, and each season has a theme. And you're doing a current season right now. You're recording and releasing a current season. What's the theme of the current season, Andy?
The current season we're in, Scott, and is it's an exciting one. It's called the Youth Movement, and I was thinking this past summer about a lot of where the sport is and where the sport's going, and I thought, man, it would be fun to interview a bunch of these kids who are like 21, 22, 23 and have found their way into trail and ultra running, because I mean, when I was coming up in the sport, that wasn't happening. So it's the Youth Movement series. We've had a great, series of episodes, moving forward, and I'm excited about the season. So go check it out. We've had Hans Troyer and Kaylee Frederick, and we're going to have a bunch of other cool people on there as well. Next season, going into 2026, we're going to sort of take a step back and look at, kind of pioneers in the sport. I'm thinking of trying to, and those are trickier people to secure for interviews for sure, but like a kind of a pioneering series where we're talking about what it was like running these events in like the 60s and the 70s. And so stay tuned for that. But thanks, Scott. And by the way, you guys are at fault. I mean, it took you like 5 years to convince me to do my own podcast, but thank you for doing that. We're 3 years in, and I've got the best editor and producer in the world, and Ryan War, and thank you for that as well. So yeah, check it out. Crack a Brew with AJW. It's a lot of fun, and we got a bunch of fun stuff happening ahead for 2026.
Available on all podcast platforms, of course, and then there's a website, crackabrewwithajw.com, correct?
That's correct. crackabrewwithajw.com. You could look back. You can go all the way back to our first episodes with Courtney DeWalter and Jim Walmsley and Anton Krupichka, and through the years with Craig Thornley and others. It's a great place to go. Tim Tweetmeyer was on there. I actually even convinced him to come on the podcast once he figured out how it worked.
He probably talked about hockey, didn't he? Well, it's a great podcast. If you haven't listened, you need to go check that out for sure.
Put it in the show notes, Scott.
Oh, that's a good idea. Do you know where they are?
No.
They're usually just down at the bottom.
Bottom of what is what Don's saying? What bottom of what? The bottom of my phone?
Freeman's like, there's a bottom?